Japan is such a puzzle. Business professionals here present like rank amateurs. To make it worse, they want to justify their perversity. There is a certain resistance to Western-style presenting, as those failing fast talk about a Japanese style of presenting. What they mean is that they want to be crap at presenting and then justify it as a Japanese way of doing things. So when we are presenting in Japan, should we do as the Romans do and botch the whole thing just like the locals? Find out the answer in today's show. Welcome back to this weekly edition every Monday of the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, your corporate coaching and training guy, president of Dale Carnegie Training Japan and best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery and my new book, also now a bestseller, Japan Business Mastery. We are bringing the show to you from our High Performance Center in Akasaka in Minato-ku, the business center of Tokyo. Why the cutting edge? In this show, we are looking at the critical areas for success in business in Japan. We want to help advance everyone's thinking so that we can be at the forefront, at the cutting edge on how to flourish here in this market. Before we get into this week's topic, here is what caught my attention lately. The best solar panels, super efficient batteries, and decades of car making knowledge are aimed at creating a car that could run forever. Toyota is working on this with Sharp Corporation and NEDO, the New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization of Japan. The solar car's advantage is that it doesn't need recharging stations. This new technology could leapfrog all the new energy technologies being developed, from plug-in hybrids to hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Toyota has been testing a new solar-powered Prius since July, but acknowledges that there's still a long way to go. Because the solar cell is only 0.03 centimeters thick, it can be placed on the curvy parts of the roof, hood, and hatchback as well. If the car is driven 4 days a week for a maximum of 50 kilometers a day, there's no need to plug it into an outlet. In other news, a 2-day demonstration test for a space elevator linking the Earth with a space station was conducted in Minosoma in Fukushima. The test, the second of its kind, was organized by the Japan Space Elevator Association. A piece of equipment called a climber ascended a cable hung from a flying balloon while carrying a robot. The object is to link the Earth with a space station orbiting at an altitude of 36,000 meters with a cable and carry people and supplies on an elevator using the cable. General contractor Obayashi Corporation aims to create a space elevator system by 2050. Finally, Japan remains the second most represented country behind the USA in the rankings of the world's top 1,400 universities. However, when it comes to elite institutions, Japan only had 2 in the top 200, the University of Tokyo and the University of Kyoto, or Kyoto University. This is far fewer than China, Italy, Denmark, and Belgium. The report noted Japan does well in research and teaching, but struggles in terms of international outlook. Oxford was number 1, followed by the California Institute of Technology. In Asia, China had Tsinghua University ranked at 23 and Beijing, Beida, at 24. Tokyo University was at 36 and Kyoto University at 65. This is episode number 109, and we are talking about we're always sorry in Japan before we get up to talk. それでは行きましょう. So let's get going. well educated from 2 top-ranked universities, undergraduate in Japan and an MBA from the USA. He had very capable command of English as well, and our presenter did a very good job conveying the business structure, strategy and results of his publicly listed enterprise. Yet, that presentation could have been so much better with attention to a few simple basics. This difference in polish is both cultural and attitudinal. Beginning your talk in Japan with a series of apologies is standard practice. First, apologise for speaking while standing because you are towering above your audience, implying your superiority. Next, tell us how nervous you are about speaking to such a distinguished audience. Don't forget to mention you had no time to prepare the talk properly because you've been so busy. If you are sick, it is always good to get that in there too. If you are speaking in English, well, then an apology for your poor English is mandatory. At the end, make some further apologies about giving such a poor presentation. Why do Japanese speakers go through all of this apologizing? Well, Japanese humility demands a public display of rectitude. Appearing too confident is not appreciated here. Seen to be a bit of a smarty pants. It never goes down well, especially when most Japanese public speakers are untrained, dreadful, boring, and killing us with their monotone. It is always good to fit in rather than stand out. Public speaking has only a relatively recent history in Japan, dating back to the early Meiji period when Fukuzawa Yukichi established the practice of the public speech. If you visit Keio University, the university founded, you can see the Enzetsukan, or public speaking hall, he built for the sole purpose of speech making. Daimyo or samurai in charge of their domains were not giving stentorian addresses to the struggling masses or the latter's samurai's betters. Notices were erected to inform everyone of what they needed to know. Western civilization has been talking up a storm forever, especially since ancient times in Greece and Rome. Today, we are embracing the idea of oratory as a particular mark of skill and intelligence. Japan has not fully embraced the power of the spoken word, and so it is not as valued here as in the West. Lack of value translates into lack of attention to being excellent as a public speaker. This is especially so when everyone around you is equally hopeless, so why should anyone bother to be professional about it? It looks like you're showing off and, well, we can't have that. Fine. But what should Japanese speakers do when they are addressing an audience in English made up of foreigners? What should we foreigners do when we are speaking to a Japanese audience in either Japanese or English? Most talks are not remembered in much detail. What we do remember, though, is the speaker. We come away with either a positive or negative impression. In Japan, linguistic purity is not required in either case. Foreigners are used to non-native speakers of English giving presentations with accents, grammatical mistakes, and unusual vocabulary choices. Japanese people seem basically convinced that non-Japanese can't speak Japanese, so any attempt to do so is greeted with approval, as long as it isn't too perfect. Foreigners speaking perfect Japanese worries some locals who seem to think their protective barrier has been penetrated. Maybe this foreigner knows a bit too much. A certain degree of ignorance on the part of foreigners is somehow more comfortable. Find out more when we come back from the break. If you want to become a fully competent and confident presenter, then do the High Impact Presentations course. We are all being judged when we speak, be it in the internal team meeting or in a public environment. Be it the big bosses, clients, or an industry audience. Everyone is evaluating us. Don't blow it. Get the best training on the planet. Do the high impact presentations course now in either Japanese or English. Are you doing business with Japan? Do you really know how things work? Japan Business Mastery provides the answers. Do you have the right networks and know how to create them? Do you know how to get on the same wavelength with Japanese buyers? Do you know what being trustworthy looks like from the Japanese perspective? Japan Business Mastery is based on more than 30 years' experience in Japan and will become your go-to guide. Want to succeed in Japan? Buy Japan Business Mastery now. Welcome back. For Japanese speakers, find out who is in your audience. The chances are, if it is a business audience, then you are speaking to a good proportion of Japan fans, boosters and supporters. Many will be fluent Japanese speakers or possibly speak more than one language, so they understand all the intricacies involved in presenting in a foreign argot. They will also have been weaned on a diet of regular presentations throughout their education and thereafter, and will have an admiration for good speakers. For this audience, then follow Western tradition and ditch all the cultural paraphernalia around apologies at the start. Instead, open with a blockbuster that grabs everyone's attention and cuts through all the competition for the attention of your audience. Even the most riveting speaker today cannot stay the hands of some of the audience as they surreptitiously sneak a peek at their handheld device while the presentation is underway. This is the age of distraction, and we as speakers, we're caught up in the vortex of this. Rehearse the presentation thoroughly and show command of the material. If there is a slide advancer involved, practice with it before the start so you can show mastery over the machine. Have some rhetorical questions at hand to keep the attention of your listeners. The audience should not know if they are going to be required to answer these questions or not in order to keep them locked into following the speech. Have a proper close designed, in fact have two ready to go. One for before we get into Q&A and one for after all the questions. Don't just let the speech fade out, as our speaker did, by the way, by saying, well, time is up and I'll finish here. No. We need to leave our audience with a call to action to get them supporting whatever it is we are promulgating. The final close is to take back control of the speech, because questions are at random and often can be completely unrelated to what it is we've been talking about. Usually, by the time we get toward the end of question time, the connection between the topic and the questions being asked gets quite thin. All the relevant and best questions have already been dealt with, so we now have the great unwashed asking their questions at the end. As the speaker, we need to reassert our control of the proceedings. We need to restate our main message so that this is what is ringing loudly in the ears of our audience as they all file from the room at the end. Now, for foreigners, don't copy the Japanese model. You are not Japanese, never will be considered Japanese, and are not expected to be Japanese. Give the most professional presentation you can, and be another speaker who the Japanese look up to and wonder why they don't have those speaking skills themselves. It doesn't matter which language you are speaking. It's always important to make the most powerful piece of communication work for you, the most you can muster. The idea is to help create role models of excellence, to better internationalize Japan and help it to do a better job of selling itself to the wider world. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show is here to help you succeed in Japan. Subscribe on YouTube. Share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. Become a regular. Thank you for watching this episode, and remember to hit the subscribe button. Our website details are on screen now. enjapan.dalecarnegie.com. It's awesome value, so please take a look. Also, please leave me with some feedback on YouTube. I would love to know how this show has helped and, well, what other topics you're interested in for me to cover. Remember, I'm here as a free resource to help you, so just tell me how I can help you best. You might also enjoy my other weekly shows for podcasts. Mondays for the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, podcast version. Tuesday for the Presentations Japan series. Wednesdays for the Sales Japan series. Thursdays for the for the Leadership Japan series. And Fridays for the Japan Business Mastery Show. Wherever you get your podcasts, there you'll find them Monday to Friday. Also, Fridays, I release my other TV show, the Japan Business Mastery Show on YouTube. In episode 110, we are talking about how to control your mood in sales. Find out more about that next week. So, yoroshiku, onegai itashimasu. Please join me for the next episode of the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. We are here to help you. I've only got one direction in mind for you and your business. That is up.